When did the left become so gullible, as all these outrageous incidents are turning out to be hoaxes, as the ICE raids in California continue to increase? One unbelievable story turns out to be unbelievable.
They tell us Julie was driving to work last Wednesday when she noticed a couple of vehicles following her. That's when she pulled into this parking lot at Alameda and 14th Streets.
Julie was taken directly from this parking lot to the border at San Isidro.
Mother of three is taken at gunpoint by two men in unmarked cars.
Family members and some people in the community are demanding answers.
Folks got off of those trucks armed with masks and they took her.
As when she was allegedly in custody, we saw outrage across social media with a GoFundMe that's also mysteriously missing. Except this story was apparently fake.
The Department of Justice has filed criminal charges against a South LA woman saying she staged a fake immigration kidnapping. Uriana Julie Calderon is facing charges of conspiracy and making false statements to federal officers.
With the U.S. Attorney's Office publishing this press release reporting that she's an illegal alien from Mexico, now being charged with orchestrating a phony kidnapping and blaming it on federal agents for public sympathy, while requesting $4,500 on their GoFundMe. But it was the feds that were concerned, as she wasn't in their custody, so they began a search, finally finding her at a shopping plaza in Bakersfield, still claiming she was taken by masked men. Except there's both video evidence and telephone records showing she fabricated the story. And now if she's convicted, she's facing 10 years in federal prison. I hope the judge throws a book at her and anybody that assisted in this insanity, as they literally panicked their own community with her story. All for what? The potential to make $4,500 and the fear-mongering on what enforcing the law looks like? As the left is so desperately looking for their BLM moments to pin on ice, they're willing to fall for anything, no matter how ridiculous it sounds. As over a month ago, this TikTok went viral over an alleged ICE raid on an elementary school graduation.
They were having their graduation, and there's helicopters in the sky. Most of these schools are predominantly Hispanic. Gratas, I believe elementary, was having their graduation, and all of a sudden a bunch of parents have to run out because ISIS is there. Parents had to run out because they don't have papers, and they had to leave their kids because the kids do. What type of is this, yo? And then kids are freaking grabbing teachers and crying on their leg because they don't know if they're about to see their parents when they get home. What the is this? And we voted for this.
And even I was getting sent that clip, as it got over 20 million views. But even then I thought, if it was a graduation, somebody had to be recording video, and if it was as bad as he says, there's going to be a lot of backlash. But then, as always, libs of TikTok found out it wasn't true. The LA Unified School District even put out a message saying the ICE raid on the 5th grade graduation is false. And instead of that Twitter account deleting the posts they were replying to, they just blocked libs of TikTok. Again showing they're not interested in evidence, they're just looking for outrage, no matter how fake it may be. The problem being, these people are probably being purposely deceitful, convincing gullible liberals into extreme reactions. As on Reddit, the original story of the LA mother taken to the border being held in a warehouse had top replies suggesting this was over her politics being performed by paramilitary units, with threads of wild speculation that they're using facial recognition that will later be used on US citizens too, as protesters will lose citizenship and be sent to the South Sudan. But then saying, stay uncaptured, it's a survival mission, escape by any means necessary. Which is the exact language that turns simple immigration enforcement into tragedies like that guy that fell off the roof trying to escape a raid. And sadly that's exactly what they want. The most horrific outcome possible, just so they can blame law enforcement and demand a return to the status quo of lawlessness in sanctuary cities. And as outlandishly evil as that sounds, just know some lady just said, masked men kidnapped her, then took a picture with dirt on her face missing a shoelace in some dingy room while making a GoFundMe. But at least the more desperate they get, the more clearly they're losing. as now, when immigrants are detained, they remain locked up while fighting their case.
The Trump administration has declared that millions of undocumented immigrants will not be able to leave ICE custody while they fight deportation proceedings in court,
which is causing many families to self-deport.
Fearful of President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown, Sasha, her husband Julio, and their 3 kids are leaving behind the life they built together. Julio is an undocumented immigrant from Mexico. Sasha and their 3 children are all U.S. citizens.
And shockingly, ICE will now use Medicaid data to track down undocumented individuals' addresses. The left has been trying to claim no tax dollars go to providing illegals with health care, but they're suddenly scared when the feds are tracking tax dollars to find them, as all their carefully crafted lies are collapsing, which is why they're leaning into this hysteria of masked men kidnapping people off the streets. LA's Mayor Karen keeps pushing fear into her own community.
But we also are filing a Freedom of Information Act because we want to know who these masked men are. We want to know where the people are that they're detaining.
With Governor Gavin Newsom also posturing up against these masked men.
If I'm walking down the street with my kids and someone grabs me with a mask on and tries to throw me in an unmarked van, and I am looking at my kids, I'm surprised someone hasn't gotten hurt. Someone is going to get hurt.
This rhetoric has already caused several people to be hurt. Federal agents, activists, and the very people he's trying to protect, when he could avoid all of this by suggesting they go the safest way and arranging their own deportation date, collecting their $1,000 on the way. But no, he's too busy trying to act like a tough guy, while simultaneously showing he has the mental toughness of a wet tissue.
They're sitting there on horses with American flags running through soccer fields, scaring kids. For what? Just toughness. It's a weakness masquerading as strength. That's what I don't like about this son of a... And forgive me, I know he's the president of the United States. Forgive me, I didn't, yeah, he calls me new scum. Come on. How do I explain that to my kid? Now I have my kids' friends calling my kids new scum. That I get, because I was called that in 7th grade.
As he hates when you bring up this nickname.
I remember the guy on Baltimore Avenue that called me new scum. I was in 7th grade.
Saw some tweet about Governor Newsom. There was an 8th grader.
I don't know who's advising Newsom as he's seemingly running for president while ignoring what's happening in his own state. As if he was really trying to protect these people, I don't think podcast appearances are going to save them. Especially whenever he tries to call out Trump, he just highlights his own failures.
So he goes in and talks to these guys that should be focused on flood preparedness, should be focused on restoring NOAA and the weather investments that they need to make and the resiliency efforts, to talk about getting FEMA back on track and how little accountability with Kristi Noem.
Newsom is talking about disaster relief while he ignores the disaster in his own state.
They're saying it's going to take 3.5 years to rebuild from now. So not 3.5 years from the fires. So 4 years from the fire.
Well, what happened? They said this was all going to be fast-tracked.
My office is leading the city effort to clear the way. Red tape, bureaucracy, all of it must go.
We need to do more, and we need to be better in terms of accelerating these efforts.
I mean, look around. How many houses are being constructed? I think there's maybe a dozen right now under construction. They forgot about the Palisades.
Oh no, he's not ignoring Californians, he's screwing them, as Newsom is reportedly allocating $101 million of their own taxpayer funds to build multi-family, low-income housing in the areas burned down by the wildfires. It's actually impressive how he's destroyed so many lives in his political career. There's literally nothing he can say or do that doesn't remind us of how awful he is. Even when he tries to support a Mexican restaurant by flipping tortillas, he's really just reminding us of all the local restaurants he locked down several times, while reserving indoor dining for himself and his very wealthy friends. And when people call Democrat states S-holes, his press office tries to show how beautiful California is by posting a picture of Hollywood from 2016, 3 years before he became governor, and an image of Nevada, a Republican-run state. So now it kinda makes sense when they try to promote these obvious hoaxes about bounty hunter kidnappings and elementary school raids. It's because they're stupid. And anybody that still supports them after knowing this is probably stupid too. But if you appreciate my concise, lighthearted commentary on the tragic status that is today's reality. Subscribe to Decoy Voice.